Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to explore a topic that we all experience, but that we rarely stop to think about. The fact that our bodies and our minds are always changing, and yet there's a part of us that feels steady, kind of like it's always been there, right? So, what is the difference between the unchanging you and the constantly changing physical world around us? We're going to be joined by Chandramukhi, Australia based teacher today to explore this topic of spirit versus matter, change versus unchanged. So, welcome, Chandramukhi. We're so happy to be joined by you today.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, we're really excited to dive into this topic. So, whenever you're ready, the stage is all yours for today.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm going to do some Mangala Charana mantras as we do every time, praying to our divine teachers and the Supreme Lord to give us the strength and inspiration today to understand this beautiful verse. So, Om Agyana Timurandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shishimad Bhaktivedanta Narayaniti Namine. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha. So today we're up to chapter 2, verse 16, and we've come a long way in discussing the nature of the soul and how to tolerate happiness, distress, and how to really understand the nature of the soul. So today we're going to look very distinctly at the difference between the soul and matter, and this is another highlighting way that Krishna is revealing the nature of the soul, which is our eternal true identity. So let's have a look at the verse first of all. Okay, so Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sada, ubhayo apidristontas tvanayos tattvadarshibhi. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded of the non-existent there is no endurance, and of the existent there is no cessation. This seers have concluded by studying the nature of both. So sometimes when I look at this verse, and it may happen for you also, it's kind of a little tricky because you have to really look at it and see what is it actually saying here. And we're going to unpack this verse today. So there's one factor. It's saying those who are seers of the truth and what their conclusion is. So those who are seers of the truth see reality distinguished from illusion. They're not affected by the dualities of this world, not affected by unending desires and any kinds of bad qualities, completely situated in their self-realization, transcendence. So what have they concluded? So Krishna is saying he's giving us the vision of someone who can see the truth. And what can they see? They can see that of the non-existent there is no endurance, and of the existent there is no cessation. So let's have a look more. We're going to have a look at this more closely today. Our Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who has commentated very beautifully on this Bhagavad Gita, and he's actually given many classes which you can hear online. So one of his classes on this specific verse, he describes how there's two things. There's sat and there's asat. So this is Sanskrit. So what does that mean? Sat means that which exists, and asat means that which does not exist. Now, these two are applied very clearly we're going to see how they apply to ourselves and to our environment, to our world around us. So Sat is permanent. Existence is permanent, and that's real existence. Now, for us in this world, we might see completely differently. We see that that which exists, um, it's there, right? It's not that it doesn't exist. And but what he's describing as that what exists is permanent, and what is non-existent is asat or temporary. So it's not that it this world doesn't exist, but it's temporary. So asat or the non-existent, it appears and disappears. So Srila Prabhupada gives the example like a cloud in the sky. So the clouds in the sky, they come, they exist, they appear for some time, they make various shapes, some there'll be rainfall, and then they disappear. But the sky always remains the same. So this is the difference between matter and spirit. So the I, who am I? And we've been talking about that a lot in these latest classes. Who am I? The self within the body is like the sky, and the body, our identity that we are temporarily in. We're in for a certain amount of years, or however long our lifetime is. It appears like that cloud, and it comes, it's there for some time and disappears. But the soul is always there. It never disappears. So it is permanent. The soul is permanent. Spirit is permanent, whereas matter is temporary. It exists, but it's temporary. And it says in this verse of the non-existent. So it's not completely non-existent, but it's referring to that which is temporary, because it says of the non-existent there is no endurance. So that word endurance is actually a very powerful word. We talk of endurance, like, for example, when we're, how much of a running race we could do, how much endurance we have to run 800 kilometers. Well, that's a lot. Sorry, 800 meters, I should say. Run, just in our exercise or in sport, for example. But endurance, that never, ever stops. That's something we don't know of. We always, in this body, we always need to take a rest. We need to sleep. We can't just go, 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 go constantly. But the soul can. The spirit soul can endure everything forever. Endurance has that endurance to not even need rest. Now that's pretty amazing. So of the non-existent, there is no endurance. So that which is temporary, this material world, there is actually no endurance. There is an end to everything. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. So Srila Prabhupada makes the point that we can't say non-existent exactly, because actually everything is existing. Like when the cloud, in the cloud example, it comes out, it has some activities. The rain falls on the ground. From that rain, new vegetation appears. Flowers come, trees come. Everything looks very green. But then when that rain disappears, everything starts to look brown again. And, if it's like a drought, it changes. But we can't say that it's false. And there is some schools of thought in the world, philosophical schools, that try to say that this world is false and that we're under illusion. We are under illusion, but this world does exist, but it is temporary. It's flickering. There is no endurance. And it's non-permanent, basically. Everything in this world comes to an end. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and an end. Because everything actually is emanating from the Supreme. So that which comes from the Supreme, who is the absolute truth, there can't be any falsity. It's going to be real, but the illusion is how we relate to the world and what we expect from the world. That's where the illusion is. But it's temporary, it's not false. So we're going to break this down a little more so we can really become clear about this. So if we think of anything in this world, and we're going to start with our own physical body. and compare our physical body with matter and spirit and our identity, our real identity. So generally in this world, we think we are this body. And if you say, who are you? We'll say, oh, I am Chandramukhi. For me, I'm a teacher. I'm 47 years old. They're all identifications with the body. And the I-ness, the soul, is beyond that, seated, watching everything. Because this body that I'm in, this body that you're in, it didn't exist in the past. 50 years ago, I was in a different body. In another 50 years, I'll be in a different body. So this body has no endurance. It is temporary. This body has, and so it's not actually the I, because the I-ness, who am I? I am actually eternal. One way, I remember some people do this activity where you say, okay, one way you can distinguish between you and the body is you say, oh, which part of your body is you? If you say my hand, you're saying my hand, and the hand is not you. You can say my hand, or you can say my leg, but you don't say I leg or I hand, or you don't say I shoulder or I elbow. You say my elbow, my head. So where's the me? Because everything is mine. You can even say that about your mind. My mind is disturbed today. Oh, my mind is peaceful today. So we are behind the body. So we're inside the body watching. We're even not the mind, and we're even not our intelligence. Our intelligence can be weak sometimes, and we make the wrong decisions, or we make the right decisions sometimes. So we can say, oh, I use my brain, or I use my intelligence. So we're still saying we're not saying I intelligence or I mind. But at the same time, we identify with them all the time, and we think that they're us. But this analytical study between spirit and matter that Krishna is teaching us in the Bhagavad Gita helps us to understand actually there's more to us than this physical body. And, when someone leaves their body, when someone dies, it actually feels wrong. Like it's like, well, we feel so much grief and despair that they have gone. And it feels wrong. It's so strange. That person, we're never going to see them again. And it feels strange. And also, we feel like we're never going to die. We see people dying around us, but we feel like we're never going to die because it's true. We don't die. It's the body that dies. It's just our misunderstanding. So, no, that's, the fact that we feel that we're never going to die is actually an indication that the soul is there, present within us, because we don't. We don't die, which is very, very hopeful, very, very heartwarming to know that actually I, the person within, never die. But my body goes through these changes, the change, whereas the soul endures forever. The body changes. So we go through birth, we go through death, we go through old age, disease, suffering, happiness, all the different varieties that according to our previous activities, and we're getting the results from those. But in the body is restricted. We need to eat, or else the body won't function. If we don't eat well, the body will get sick. Whereas the soul doesn't need to eat, doesn't need to sleep, doesn't need these things. But the soul in our original identity does them for a completely different reason. Will eat and sleep as a savor, or like as loving service to God. So the soul existed in the past, as Krishna says. He exists now and will exist in the future. But the body may live 10 years, 10 hours. Some living entities even live 10 seconds. Some live 10 billion years or more, like in the topmost heavenly planets of this world in Brahmaloka. So the body will change. Matter, it changes. And then if we look at every different quality or form in this world, we can see it's the same. So even just the quality of beauty, for example, everyone wants to be beautiful or handsome. But from a young age, there is beauty. And then as we get older, wrinkles start to come, the hair starts to fall out, go grey, so there's change. whereas the beauty of the soul is ever existing. The soul is ever beautiful, always. Then if we look at wealth in this world, our belongings, our house, our car, our land, everything has, we may, in some lifetimes we may have a lot of wealth. In some lifetimes we may have very little. We may be rich, we may be poor. It changes according to our activities. And the cycles of its life also change. After 100 or 200 years, you won't even see the same buildings anymore. There's completely different ones. So everything is changing in this world. But that which is belonging to spirit never changes. It is always there and never deteriorates. And actually there is a world where, where everything is spirit. In this world, everything is matter with spirit inside. Actually, even in this world, there is spirit everywhere. Without spirit, the matter can't function. That's the difference between a dead body and an alive body. That the body can only function when there's a spirit soul inside. And when the spirit soul leaves, the body is only dead matter. But there is a world where everything is existing forever in their spiritual bodies. And that is the world of God. Vaikuntha, where there is no anxieties, the spiritual world, where the supreme origin of everything resides, with his eternal paraphernalia and associates. And we are actually of that realm. And in that realm, everyone is ever existing, and the whole land, the houses, everything there is ever existing. There's no destruction. And if we take other qualities and compare them, we've looked at our body, beauty, wealth. If we look at qualities like love and kindness and compare them with spirit and matter, so that love and kindness, which is mixed with matter, so mixed with identification with our body and false identity, that love changes. It ends. It begins. It can turn into hate. And ultimately, it's motivated for oneself in this world and based on our own sense enjoyment. And it can easily turn into aggression or anger that, if we don't get our way, or we don't get our needs met, or we don't feel satisfied, we can get angry or aggressive. There's one saying you may have heard, friends are friends and foes are foes to the degree they serve or mar our woes. And that's how it is in this world. Whereas the opposite is the case in our eternal spiritual nature. Our spiritual nature is selfless. Love is selfless. Kindness is selfless. There's no motivation for oneself, but only to please God, to please others. And then that type of love has no end. It is eternal. Love that is free from motivation doesn't change into hate or anger. And then if we look at other qualities like happiness, power, fame, knowledge, anything we can look at in this world, we can look at the difference, how it compares when it's mixed in this world, and how it compares in the transcendental world. And our knowledge here is covered by illusion. We only see a tiny slice of reality, whereas a self-realized soul, they can see everything. Power, their knowledge is beyond matter. They can see everything in past, present, future. Their understanding, as Krishna says in the beginning of this verse, the seer, they can see. What does the seer see? The seer sees the reality as opposed to the illusion, sees the truth. So this knowledge is eternal, whereas all knowledge here is temporary. When we die, we forget everything, and we start again. So if we're looking very carefully and where we want to be, do we want to be situated in the self, or do we want to be situated only in matter forever? And there's more to us than identifying with matter, and that's what Krishna is explaining in the Gita. Dive in and find who you really are, and then he gives the process of self-realization, how to realize oneself, one's eternal self. And just finishing off on those different topics that we've been comparing, we look at the environment, the trees, the food, the animals. In this material world, one living entity is food for another, and it's ever changing. And whereas in the spiritual world, the environment is eternally existing and is supportive. There is no selfishness. Every unit is supporting every other unit with God in the center. So Srila Prabhupada in this class, he's speaking about this verse. He makes a very, very nice point, and it's something that many of us don't even think of because we think it's not possible. He says, strive to make your life immortal. Many of us don't even think of that. We should try and make our life, we should try and become immortal. He says our mission, our human mission in this life is to conquer birth and death. Conquer the cycle of birth and death, to be immortal. And, when we think about that, that's amazing that I can become immortal. And that's the soul. The soul is immortal, but how do we realize that? How do we become situated in our real eternal nature? He says, don't try to become entangled with the asat, or the temporary. Don't give so much attention. In Western culture, we give so much attention to the asat, or to the temporary, this temporary body and all of our possessions, giving so much energy to collecting wealth, but it's all temporary and will leave us when we die. But what will not leave us when we die? Our spiritual development. Any development we make towards understanding who we really are, that will stay with us forever. And so the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is saying, give attention to this. Give attention to your soul. Srila Prabhupada would give the example sometimes of, in the East, which he says is India, and he's also meaning the original Vedic civilization, not necessarily the India that's influenced by the West of today. He said, they'll use a twig for a toothbrush, whereas in the West, we'll use an electric toothbrush. So, the difference is the focus on the asat or the sat. Simple living, high thinking, or giving all our attention to more complex living, more complex ways to sleep on waterbeds or electric blankets, more complex ways to eat at restaurants or food, restaurants or all kinds of exotic different food, more complex ways to do everything. But when we live simply and we don't give so much attention, we still need to obviously cover our basic needs. And for everyone, that's different. For different personalities and different walks of life, it can be different. But where is our attention going? Are we giving our attention to our human mission that is possible to conquer birth and death and to become immortal? Or are we giving all our attention just to the asat, or the temporary? And if we look at the different moods and functions of being in this world, and then being situated in our true self, being self-realized, what is the function of the soul? What is the nature of the soul? And there's one beautiful verse given in the scriptures. It's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Jivera Swarupahaya Krishnera Nitya Das. So the mood of our soul is actually a service mood, seva. I think it might have been Hari Priya who spoke very beautifully about the word seva, how it's imbued with love and affection. So acting with selfless love and affection. And in the mood of this world, when we're identifying with our false self and false sense of reality, it becomes a mood of exploitation. How can I gain more for me, I, or me, my family, and my extended false identities? How I can, exploit others to satisfy myself, basically. And that is in everything. Even all our relationships, all of our activities, when we're simply absorbed in matter and thinking that matter or this material world can give us what we need, then it becomes exploitation. Whereas the function of the soul is service, and ultimately service to God, pleasing God, loving service to God. Because when God is the center, all the parts and parcels become in harmony. And actually, we come from God. We're parts and parcels. We're known as Vivinangsa Tattva, or separated parts and parcels of God. And just like the fire has many, many sparks of the fire, or the sunshine and the particles and the rays of the sunshine, those particles in the fire, they cannot exist separately from the fire. They don't function. As soon as the sparks leave the fire, they'll just fizzle out. So those sparks function the best when they're serving the whole, when they're serving the fire. So in a similar way, we are all parts and parcels of God, and we're made of the same nature as God. We're eternal. We're full of cognisance, of knowledge of reality, and we're actually by nature blissful. This is known as Satchit Ananda. And when we can come into that, realize that identity through seva, through which is our function. If we engage in the function of selfless service or seva to God and connect with God in our eternal relationship with Him, understanding He is always with us and He is my best well-wisher and friend, and open up to that loving relationship within our life, then we are coming into our true nature more and more, and gradually the ignorance and the darkness of our true selves and our false nature of exploitation will gradually dissipate. And I'm going to be finishing soon, but there's a couple more points I want to make. That in this world we come under the influence of avidya, or ignorance. This, because we're searching for our happiness and our love in matter, and we're identified with matter, we've forgotten who I am. And so the scriptures describe that there's 5 types of this avidya. 1, forgetting who I am. That's the first thing. Forgetting that I am a loving servant or loving part of God. And then, who am I then? The second is, well, if I don't know who I am, I must be this body and senses and mind. And what is my function then? The third type of ignorance or forgetfulness is that forgetting who I am, my function must be to enjoy my senses. So my function must be to enjoy my senses and enjoy this world. But then we try and enjoy, and we look around us and we see so many others, or everyone else is enjoying but me. What's wrong? So that's another type of illusion of the ignorance. And then we strive harder to enjoy and put all our effort into enjoying matter, thinking that everyone else is. But actually the truth is no one is, because it's not possible, because the soul needs something higher, a higher spiritual connection. And then the 5th type of illusion is that death is the final end, that so identified with this body that we think that when we die, that's it. So how can these different types of ignorance be dissipated and taken away, the darkness removed? So we've been speaking about Sat and Asat. How Sat is situated, is eternal, and Asat is temporary. Sat is spirit, Asat is matter. So we go to the point in this verse about what do the seers of the truth say? They're saying that of the Sat there is of the non-existent there is no endurance, and of the existent, I'm getting confused here. Yeah. Of the non-existent there is no endurance, and of the existent there is no cessation. So those seers of the truth, if we associate with seers of the truth who can see this reality, then we can start to see the reality as well. Now, those persons that we associate with, can either, even, when you're bringing up teenager, for example, I don't have a teenager yet, I've got a 5-year-old, but, I hear so many people talk about bringing up their teenagers and how they want to make sure that they have the right friends. If you have the right friends, then you're going to go well in life. And if you don't, then you're going to be taken down and get into all kinds of dark activities. So, those we hang out with, those who we, connect with in this world, it can bring us up or bring us down. They say that association is like a crystal, that you associate. If a crystal will turn the color of whatever it's near, like if it's near a red cloth, then the crystal will look like it's red. Or if it's near a window, it will reflect all the light that's coming in. Or, so that the crystal reflects whatever it's nearby. So we actually start to reflect the nature of those that we associate with. And so, this verse is pointing towards that the importance of sat sangha, not asat sangha. So associating with those who are situated in sat, or their eternal existence, and realize their eternal loving relationship with God. And when we associate with those types of personalities, then we can advance in spiritual life, we can advance in self-realization, we can hear from them about the reality as opposed to the illusion, and hear about the process of how we can attain the reality. Whereas when we associate with those who are only absorbed in asat, or the temporary asat sangha, then we become easily degraded and entangled in this world, entangled in matter. But when we associate with those who are situated in satsanga, then the illusion, the ignorance will vanish, and we'll realize that who am I? I am a great personality. Actually, I'm a spirit soul. I'm spirit. I'm not matter. I don't die. I actually can live forever. I do live forever. Let me realize that. And there's so much more to us that we can't imagine how much we don't know about ourselves. Just like in this world, we have, we have identity. We have, our family, our friends, our likes, our dislikes. We have that too in our spiritual identity, but it is not false. It's identified with I am a servant of God. I am part and parcel of God. And everything we actually have, it's in seed form, we don't realize, but our spirit soul, contained within our spirit soul, is our own eternal spiritual form. Spiritual loving moods, likes and dislikes that are all in relationship with in relation to our connection with God, eternally in loving, playful, mood, serving God. Actually, the Lord is missing us. It's said that he's in our hearts, and he's always looking for a way to bring us home to his transcendental realm, the spiritual world, where there's some specific loving mood that we have eternally that he's not experiencing, and he's waiting for us. When will we come to our real home and give up this temporary world and arise and awaken to who we really are? So I'll finish there, but I just finish on the point of what, thinking we can think about, well, really, what is our mission in life? What do we want in our life? And if we get that really clear, and if we can get really understand this difference between spirit and matter, and that there is so much more to us, then surely we will see that going towards the spirit, using this life to, as Srila Prabhupada says, to conquer birth and death and to become situated in immortality. How much are we working towards that in our life? And if we're really, really sincere, then God within, our inner guide, will guide us there. And that's what he's doing here in the Bhagavad Gita, which is so beautiful, powerful, and hopeful. So I'll finish there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chandramukhi. This was definitely, it's a very powerful topic. I think it absolutely touches all of our lives consistently, right? In every stage, there's always this change and these endings and these new beginnings. And I think, like we mentioned, like this is something that we don't really talk about, right? Or maybe we don't like to think about this topic. So I really appreciate you being here today, and really just kind of helping us unpack all of these important things. Yeah. All right. Well, it was great to see you, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you. See you soon.
Thanks again to everyone who joined us today. We really hope that you liked the class. Feel free to tune in every week, Mondays at 7:30 p.m. and Thursdays at 8:30 or 8 a.m. Eastern Time to continue exploring life through the lens of the Bhagavad Gita. See you soon.